episode 43 of the Nosebleeds Podcast. This is your host, Trevor.
Trevor's leading the episode.
God.
I don't know, I'm trying to get
He always
things
needs
done.
a second chance. For behind the scenes, we had started recording and then everything broke, so we had to start over.
We're probably going to have to start over again, but
You
who
must
knows?
be choking.
I'm imagining. Yeah, I said drink much, and Trevor and I had a bad high five. It wasn't a good start, to be honest.
You guys were there. No, you weren't. You got deleted.
You all saw it. You didn't. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
We, we're not going to turn into YouTubers, I don't think.
Love you and
Not
appreciate
yet.
you.
Just wait.
I forgot to do this.
Why don't you just go ahead and take a second to assault that like button?
And smash the subscribe button.
You don't need to subscribe. It's really not all that
You also
important.
don't need to smash it. Like, ask it out for dinner first. And then, maybe, one thing will lead to another. You'll go back to its apartment.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a hasty kiss on the stairs, and then it'll invite you inside. And then, you'll see their collection of magazines and be like, wow, you read National
and you'll
Geographic?
hear the
I
meows
thought...
of thousands of cats.
You're right, yeah.
Did hockey things happen this weekend?
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit.
I think the biggest piece of news was that the Wild fired their general manager Paul Fenton after exactly one season.
The Lizard Man.
Yeah, there's some gems from him, and I'm gonna read them when we get there.
Insert the audio of the guy chasing his dog.
Fenton!
Who's chasing the deer?
Fenton!
Jesus Christ, Fenton!
I don't know that reference.
That's really good.
Okay, I'll have to look it up.
The Wild they have an interim general manager at the moment, as most teams do when they fire a general manager. They don't automatically have a new one.
You have the off season also.
That's the thing, though. So
Or what's left of it.
Yeah, you let him run the draft. You let him start free agency where you signed Matt Zuccarello to a $30 million contract.
To a bad deal.
I don't think it's a bad deal, but it's one that doesn't fit that team that isn't going to be good for a while.
So it's bad.
Sure, it doesn't. The
not
contract
the right fit.
itself isn't terrible. The context around it is bad. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Some of his... He doesn't have a very long rap sheet as far as trades go, but he made two pretty bad ones. Victor Rask in, Nino Niederreiter out, and Nino kind of lit it up for Carolina after that. Kevin Fiala in, Miko Granlund out. Seemed like a bad deal as well.
They went younger there, but...
Yeah. And then he signs Zuccarello, and he was allowed to do the draft. Like...
I agree.
I've heard stories of, I think it was actually Alain Vigneault, he was getting fired from the Rangers. Actually, it couldn't have been because he was fired at like the very end of the season, but it was some coach talking about being fired and how a guy got injured on their team, and he called the general manager and he was like, "Who do you want me to call up from the minors?" Dude, no. And the GM says, "Oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it." And the next person he called was his wife, and he said, "Yeah, I'm getting fired." Like, he just knew it. He knew that was going to happen because the coach is typically responsible for those call-ups. Or at least their opinion matters.
Sure.
But
maybe, do you think, the only reason I could think of to keep him through the draft, so he doesn't, give away who you think you're going to draft?
Okay, but here's a problem with that.
That's him, though.
This is an actual quote from Paul Fenton at the draft.
Okay.
The thing I like is when guys came up to our table and they were way taller than me. We've had some smaller prospects, good hockey players, but every time somebody came up, they were much taller, and you got a smile on a lot of our faces. The draft strategy was big. That was it. Get big dudes. So
that's not the best strategy.
Right.
Who put that in? Or go home.
The thing that everyone keeps saying about Fenton, and that's the reason why he got this job, and even the owner, Craig Leopold, said it, was that he was a good scout. Does that sound like someone who knows what he's talking about when it comes to scouting?
Not really.
Not at all.
I mean, that's one characteristic that you should like, but obviously there's a lot more than that you should be looking at.
When you're only but I think if as an equalizer, size is fine.
Sure.
All things being equal, this guy's bigger. They can skate the exact same. They have the same shot, but the players aren't like that.
No one's equal.
That's why Cole Caulfield fell to 15 to the Canadiens.
I like him too.
The Canadiens released a video of him today when he was like 4 years old, just shooting in his living room, and I was like, he's grown exactly 4 inches since this was done. So congrats to him for making it.
It looked like us in college.
Yeah. So, and obviously on the Zuccarello thing, his whole quote was, I told him when I was talking to him that he's like a lizard, the way a lizard takes his tongue and sticks it as far as it does and retrieves what it was trying to do. That's the former GM, Paul Fenton, on Matt Zuccarello.
I don't know why you don't keep a guy like that for like 30 years. You know?
I think I understand what he's trying to say, but like,
please enlighten us.
I'm assuming he means like he's kind of like has that Crosby characteristic where he doesn't lose the puck, or like if he reached out to grab the puck, like he just gets it. Like maybe he's like good at takeaways. But why the hell would you say it like that?
A lizard with his tongue.
So dumb.
This guy sounds like he's never actually watched a hockey game before.
Am I the only person who took that like incredibly literally? That he does that with his face?
I didn't, but
I
think he watches his NHL games on Animal Planet.
I'll be honest. That's a fine interpretation of it. How else are you supposed to interpret it? It makes no sense.
Every so often.
Like someone goes to talk to him about the Super Bowl, he's like, "Yeah, that golden retriever was great." And it's like, "No, Paul, that was the Puppy Bowl. That wasn't the actual game.
That was the team dog that we're turning into a service animal. He's not actually on the team. He's like, that sucks. He was good at skating backwards.
The Australian Shepherd really fucked up the first down.
Paul, what game
isn't it a football?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, come on. Anyway.
What, the Husky though?
And I mean, I don't have the quote in front of me from Craig Leopold during their media availability about the firing, but like, he's like, it's not because he didn't understand hockey. He was bad at everything else. Essentially, like being a manager, putting people in the right positions organizationally, everything that a general manager is supposed to do.
Holding in his lizard form from escaping.
Right.
And instead using that to call Zuccarello a lizard man.
Cool.
Everything a GM should do.
Naturally. So, I mean, they're already thinking about candidates for the job. One that keeps popping up is Don Waddell, who was the general manager of the Hurricanes last year. And he still technically is, even though he doesn't have a contract, which I just learned a few days ago. Like, people were like, oh, man, Don Waddell would be good there. It's like, but he works for the Hurricanes. But again, Tom Dundon doesn't want to pay his managerial staff all that much money. They're not making, league average, which sucks because Don Waddell did a great job. One of his best trades was fleecing Paul Fenton and getting Nino for Victor Rask. So, I mean, that's an interesting name.
Sure.
I hope with everything that I've got that the next general manager of the Minnesota Wild is a certain Peter Chiarelli.
I would like that too.
We need him.
It would give us something to talk about in Minnesota. Like he would be doing a lot of things that are just something to talk about.
That team is so screwed.
It's just I don't know what they need to do. They need to
they need to pick a direction and go in it. They haven't been going for it ever. No. But then you look at in 2012 in the offseason, they signed Parise and Suter to those monster contracts, and they keep spending money. Like, Craig Leopold must just print money for them. Because I don't understand. The team has never gotten past the second round, I don't think. I think so maybe weird. One conference final.
Do you know other sports better than I do? Are there teams like Minnesota in other sports where it's just like, oh, I forgot about them? Like, they're just, super average and just, not talked about?
I'm trying to think of, the baseball team. Basketball, that's basically every team that's not a huge team. Yeah. It's just sort of, who the hell are they? Baseball, who's sort of that team that
they're competitive,
no one thinks about?
I don't know.
Maybe the Marlins. No, they're pretty popular. They're a California team. It's tough to count them out. I'd say probably the Marlins. Just because.
The Cleveland Indians.
They just got.
I don't know.
They got Yasiel Puig. Did you see the
fight?
The fight?
I saw clips.
It was amazing.
What a privilege we have to watch men in really tight pants
My favorite thing, and we can chat about this baseball fight really
thing.
quick. Just the general art of the baseball fight. You have one chance to land a punch in a baseball fight because you have one swing and then everybody's there. Yeah. And it's amazing to me how much time they have to plan out their haymaker and how many times they miss.
I think they put too much behind it. It's like they're running while they're throwing the punch. Like, it just doesn't work.
There's a famous one between...
Go for the tackle.
And I love... It's my favorite baseball name, and one of our listeners asked a question about hockey names that we'll get to later. But my favorite baseball name, Coco Crisp.
No.
Real name.
Full name?
Coco, first name. Last name Crisp.
Name?
I don't know.
Wow.
We don't need to bring gods into this, Crisp. Kristen, you know? But anyway, he was playing for the Red Sox, and he was playing against the Tampa Bay Rays, and he got thrown at, and he charged the mound, and he matrix ducked behind. Gonna pick it right back up. I don't know when it froze. So you're gonna figure this out in post.
Fuck. His name is not Coco.
Okay, it's not the point.
Lois Crisp, but his nickname is Coco. I just wanted to.
It's literally not the point.
I asked the question. I ask the questions around here.
Anyway, Coco Crisp dodges the first punch, and then he goes to throw a punch, and he also misses his punch. And the guy didn't even dodge it. He just missed. The Reds pitcher, in this case, where they were fighting the Pirates, he just came in, and he had a haymaker, and he just pushed it right past the guy's shoulder. Like, I have no idea if they've ever thrown a punch up until the moment they're about to.
Yeah. I think, like I said, go for the tackle. I think that'd be so much more effective.
There were 8 people suspended, players and managers, with a total 40 games dished out between all of them. It was a pretty great fight.
This isn't a team that's forgotten in the MLB, but this is more of a location that I forgot. Sure. I never knew that Chicago had 2 fucking teams.
That's a good point. The White Sox are kind of forgotten because the Cubs.
That's a good one.
And the Cubs.
That's a good one.
I would never have thought, oh, they're from Chicago.
Yeah.
They're the worst of the 2 Sox.
Division?
No, the White Sox are in the American League.
How did they decide that?
Well, they didn't. Baseball used to just be 2 leagues.
Right.
So Chicago had a team in each one.
I think the Detroit Tigers are also a little forgettable.
Could they play
The Tigers were good for a few years in like the mid-2000s.
The Colorado
late 2000s, 2010s.
So the Cubs could play...
The Rockies are typically an okay team.
The Cubs could play the White Sox for the title.
In the World Series, yeah.
That's insane.
That'd be so much fun to live in Chicago.
I think it was 2000... I can't remember the year, but the Mets and Yankees played for the World Series in our lifetime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Is the World Series on neutral ground, or is it
No, it's back and forth. It's a 7-game series. I think they split it the same way.
That'd be so cool. You could easily go to like all 6 or 7 games, however many there ended up being.
Yeah.
You know? Wow. That's fun.
Neato.
What about the footballs?
A forgettable football team?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of similar. And again, I'm leaning back towards Florida and Tampa Bay.
Kansas City.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The
fucking Kansas City.
Oh, well, yeah, no,
the Chiefs had one of the best players in the league last year. You can't forget them.
The Buccaneers?
Yeah, Tampa Bay. That's what I'm just saying.
That might be my team.
The Bengals are kind of forgettable, except when they play the Ravens or the Steelers, and then it's Murder Bowl.
So, you can't
yeah.
You can't just be bad. Like the Browns are like a lot of people talk about the Browns.
They're so bad that we talk about them so
exactly.
much.
Yeah. Like you have to like do somewhat well.
Yeah, I feel like if the Giants were anywhere but New York / New Jersey, like they would.
That's a great example.
We'd be like, oh, there's 31 teams in the NFL. It's like, well, no, you forgot the Giants. The who?
Huh?
Like that's what it would be like.
Giants?
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's fun. Forgettable teams and stuff.
Yeah. What about? Oh, we did.
The Wild are by far. And Trevor was right because I mean, you look at that. You look at teams that expanded around that time. Columbus at least has made some noise.
Some recently.
And it was so comical how they couldn't win a playoff game forever. You know, at least they had that.
Mm-hmm.
The Western Canadian teams are forgettable to me a little bit. The Canucks are a little forgettable to me.
I think it's just because they're far away from us.
Yeah, I'd say like Calgary.
They're not forgettable to those markets or just like Canada in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? I'm trying to think of like another the Coyotes, but the Coyotes are memorable because of how ridiculously poorly run that team was. They just got a new owner.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps. What else we got? I mean, how long before Minnesota is even competitive again?
I'd have to look at their like cap situation, but
it's bad.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard because I mean, you look at the Rangers, and you would have given the Rangers like 4 or 5 years, and they kind of did it in 2. So it's hard, but I don't think the Wild are as well functioning as the Rangers are.
Yeah,
so.
And I mean, the summer is a wash at this point for them. Like, while everyone else was tweaking their rosters and making moves, they had a guy at the helm who they didn't trust.
Right.
And then now they're at the end of free agency, essentially. Although there's a lot of free agents still left on the market, they've got no money left. They can't go get a Jake Gardiner, who I would imagine would love to go home and play in Minnesota.
And then I'm trying to think. Can you think of an example of a team that rushed a rebuild and it didn't work? Because I know that's happened somewhat. Like, it has to have happened somewhat recently. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I feel like Edmonton was like really bad for so long, and the rebuild wasn't working. And then they got that 1 year where they were back in the playoffs, and they thought, this is it. We don't need to do anything anymore. But it was really just McDavid being healthy and carrying that roster.
That's true.
And they got good goaltending from Cam Talbot, which is something they haven't got since then.
But if your idea of a rebuild is 1 draft pick and a new goalie.
But if it's Connor McDavid, you don't need many more other players.
Yeah, but it's a whole fucking team.
The Oilers need
Clearly they need more.
We talked about the James Neal thing. They don't have wingers. Everyone's talking about their defense. They need guys that McDavid can put goals on their stick. You're paying Draisaitl too much to ride shotgun with McDavid. Like, he has to do his own line.
Yeah, 100%.
If you want to put Nugent Hopkins up on another line, that makes a little more sense to me on McDavid's line. Fine. But, like, Draisaitl needs to center his own line. And those two need to play, like, combined 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's just how bad. If that team wants to be successful now, they can pick up more wingers and stuff. They have to figure it out. They gotta.
And wingers are so popular too.
Yeah, it's the easiest position in the sport to get better at, and they can't figure it out.
They should get that Taylor Hall guy.
I heard he's pretty good. He's worth exactly 1 Adam Larson, which they're in luck. They have one of those.
Oh God.
So the other big piece of news that was and then wasn't and then was and then wasn't and then finally was Kevin Shattenkirk getting bought out by the Rangers. Mm-hmm. Now, no one was sure when the buyout period opened for them. Because if you sign all of your arbitration-eligible RFAs, you get a 48-hour buyout period that opens up 3 days after you sign that contract. The Rangers signed Buchnevich, but the point being, we didn't remember. No one could figure out when it actually happened.
Yeah, and then I guess over the weekend didn't count as business days, so it wasn't.
It's business days?
Yeah. As far as I know. And so it's just a very confusing process. Well, it makes sense. The league.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
The league's not going to sign up players.
Hey, guess what? It's the summer. There's nothing to worry about.
True.
Oh my God.
It's August.
So, yeah, it was just very confusing.
Business days.
People were like.
Fucking Amazon-ass league.
Business days.
People. Fucking post office-ass league. This is garbage.
People were, like, counting down the hours for the end of the buyout period. And it hadn't even started yet.
Oh, but because Friday, at the NHL, Friday they do summer Friday, so they leave at 1, so that's only half a business day.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that technically had to... This is so stupid. This league is dumb. Anyway, we can talk about more league being dumb stuff later on with the Callahan trade.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
At first, I was upset about it.
Yeah.
It just didn't make a whole lot of sense for me, like, in terms of what moves we had to make. But after kind of looking in more detail of the situation the Rangers are in, what they're going to be in, it kind of makes sense. It's one of the easiest, I think, options they had in order to make cap space because they still have to sign Lemieux and D'Angelo, who are probably going to total around $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, I was going to say $4 million for the pair seems like a decent... Yeah. If you guys do that, you're doing well.
And we were at 0. And now for this year, we have around $5 million cap space because of Shattenkirk being bought out. The main problem is next season we will have
I have
90% of his cap hit.
Yeah, I have the breakdown here. In 2019-2020, the cap hit for his buyout is $1.483 repeated $1 million.
Repeating, of course.
Right.
Of course.
2021, it's $6.083 million. So
and he's on like a 6.6
yeah, essentially like only $500,000 less, and it's just dead cap because you don't even have Shattenkirk.
Exactly.
And then for the last 2 years, it's 1.433.
And that big year would have been the year his contract's over. He was only had 2 more years.
Right, and that 2021 season is brutal for a lot of players. Carl Alsner with the Canadiens being one, because that year a lot of players were smart with their agents, and they wanted lockout protection, because with a lockout you don't get paid your salary, you're not working, so you get your signing bonuses. So that year it's all signing bonuses.
Yeah.
The good thing is the Rangers have a lot of players coming off the books that they won't have to re-sign for a lot of money. That for that big year, because that was my main concern, is now we are missing a defenseman and we're putting $6 million towards an empty spot. Kreider, who probably will end up being traded at the summer of the deadline. I think so. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's going to be hard to pay him. He probably is going to want something like 7x7, so it's going to be hard to keep him.
Yeah, I see that.
Nemestikov is getting paid like $4 million. He comes off the book, so it's like, again,
he hasn't looked good in New York at all.
Yeah, will the Rangers keep him? I don't know. And then you have like guys like Ryan Strome, Matt Bolesky's cap hit's gone, Greg McKegg's going to be gone, and so it's like a lot of guys that we don't have to pay. So there's really no big players we have to sign other than Kreider. So that's why I'm not as concerned as I originally was when you think like $6 million to nothing is crazy. But
how long is Lundqvist still on the books?
2 years. So then the following season after that, after Shattenkirk comes, the big Shattenkirk comes off.
Right.
Lundqvist will go away for. We'll see if we.
I think they'll re-sign him, because I think at that point they'll be close to. Maybe I don't want to say, because it's so tough to say cup contenders.
Sure.
But
a lot closer.
Capo Caco will be in his legitimate prime.
Still on his entry level.
Yeah.
In 2 years.
On the last year of his entry level deal.
And so Lundqvist makes 8.5 now, so maybe they give him like a $4 or $5 million 2-year deal.
Maybe.
Or 1-year deals, maybe for a little bit more. So so we would save like $4 million easy on Lundqvist, and then you start talking like Stahl's coming off. You have a lot of other big pieces coming off at that year. So I'm not as worried as I first was.
Shattenkirk's gonna get a deal somewhere else.
Yeah. The question is like how much. I don't think it's gonna be a lot.
And I think I know what people are giving the Rangers a lot of shit for buying him out now. The thing is he's coming off major knee problems, right? He had a knee surgery.
This was his first. This past season was like one of his first full years, because the previous year he only played like half the season because he had problems. Yeah.
Now the Rangers probably saw this season as the last chance they had, because if he gets hurt again, you can't buy him out. He goes on LTIR.
Yeah.
Which might help them, but the Rangers are already so deep into LTIR.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to see what offers they had in terms of trying to trade him. Like, assuming they did try, and they would probably have had pay to move him. I don't know how much that would have cost, but I guess it's really not worth it. Like, if you can afford to take that $6 million hit, why would you pay somebody to take him? Yeah,
and I don't think the Rangers are at a point where they should be spending to the cap. They can afford the buyout, because I don't think even next year they're expected to be a Stanley Cup team. They're probably they might be a playoff team. They might be a playoff team this year.
Yeah.
But it's just so much dead cap to just sit there with. $6 million for a season.
For that 1 year. And then you have like 1.4 the 2 years after that. So it's like it's a long time as opposed to the 2 years he was just on. I really don't think that's probably my mic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought I heard your mic.
Did I make it worse?
Maybe.
Oh. You know how to fix it. I always have trouble.
Apologies.
What do you want to do here? Oh, that sounded better for a second.
I think it's good. Hold on. No, it's not grounded. Like, it's just when you touch it, it just stops. Just the metal part. It's really odd.
Just hold it like this for a little bit.
Okay.
What are we talking about? Shattenkirk, but I forget. I don't think the buyout had anything to do with his skill level, because it was really just more about cap space.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of people were wanting them to buy out like Smith or Stahl, which would be nice, but also I think they would have had to have made additional moves, which I guess wasn't worth it.
Now, the Devils have the cap space. They were interested in him the first time around when he hit free agency and ultimately chose the Rangers. I wonder if they circle back.
I mean, I could see him getting like $2 or $3 million.
Yeah,
right?
probably maybe $1 million. There's a lot of those buyout guys that are still hanging out. Dion Phaneuf, who I don't think is an NHL player. Patrick Marleau, who was supposed to be a shoo-in to sign in California somewhere.
And the year the Rangers signed Shattenkirk, he was one of like the bigger free agents.
And he took a pay cut.
Which is scary.
Which is ridiculous thinking now that he's making $6.5 million and you're buying him out. And to think that any of that was a pay cut.
I think it was the Blue, I forget what team it was. Someone offered him like something like 7x7 or something like that. Like, it was crazy. He really should have taken it. But that's what happens. Like, injuries can just really change a player.
Yeah, and I think he can still be effective.
Sure. That's what...
I was looking at some numbers today from people who are a lot smarter than me, saying essentially he's not the best guy defending against the rush, but he's sure good at making zone entries.
Yeah, he was definitely he's supposed to be a power play specialist. And a lot of players...
Montreal, please, guys, do it.
A lot of people were talking about bringing up, like, bad advanced stats for him or talking about how poor his play was. But for me, like, this was the worst Rangers season in over a decade.
Yeah.
And it was...
intentionally so.
Sure. But even still, he was probably one of the... He was, I would argue, the top defender. I mean,
he had like 20-some-odd points. Only 3 goals, but 20-some-odd assists as well.
I mean, but was he better than Shea? I don't know. But he was... You could argue he was still, like...
Yeah, I mean, go down the list. Was he better than Pionk?
No.
Pionk was better?
He was. No, yes, he was.
He was better than Pionk. Was he better than Stahl?
It's not too hard to be better than Stahl.
Right. That's the thing, is I feel like maybe he's not... When you see a player gets bought out, you're like, oh, man, that's it for him. Mm-hmm. But I don't get the feeling that's the case with him. I feel like it was just a situation that hasn't worked out.
And then we just needed cap space right now.
Man, I as soon as he got bought out and I looked at his... we know how he plays. Mm-hmm. My first thought was, can he play the left side? And can he come and play in Montreal? Can he play on the power play?
Right.
Maybe you sign him to $1 million and he plays like less than 10 minutes a night at even strength, and you play him on the power play. And you get him to pass the puck around. Montreal's missed a guy like that for a while.
Yeah, for me, like, he definitely had a longer leash than just that 1 year. Even if he had a really rough year last year, it was still his first full season with the team. The year previous, as we said, he was out half the year with the freaking injury. So, I don't know. For me, he earned a lot longer leash. Especially, like, even if he wasn't performing, even if you don't think he would be better than some of the rookies right away, he's still, like, he has so much more experience than a rookie coming in.
Yeah, I almost wonder, like... with the younger guys coming in, and Adam Fox, who plays a similar sort of style, they've got some other young defensemen coming in. D'Angelo's still there.
Igor Hayek is apparently coming
Lieber
in. Lieber Hayek, yeah, same thing. I'm trying to say it based on memory of how I...
Trouba doesn't really need any babysitting at this point. No. He's their number one now. I wonder if, like, making all those acquisitions made it easier to sort of say, okay, we don't need him anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does open up room for another guy. At the same time, you do want to keep some veteran presence. So the young guys have someone to look up to on defense, I guess. But it'll be interesting. People will be fighting for spots. To the aforementioned Devils we go. Hi, Kristen. How are you doing? There was something else I wanted to say, and I forgot.
Yeah.
Checking on you.
I got lost in...
Restricted free agent Nikita Gusev goes from Vegas to the Devils for a 2020 third and a 2021 second. He immediately signs a 2-year deal with the Devils, $9 million total, so $4.5 million per. He seems to be a safe bet, but I feel like there's some thoughts in the backs of people's minds that he might not be the real deal as far as like a player from Russia that's come over and turns into a player. Remember Vadim Shipachyov? Yep, for Vegas, who came over. I wonder if maybe they think they're a little worried about that.
They're just like, we've already done this.
Likewise.
Not again.
Semin.
Semin was an NHLer. Like, Semin was in the NHL. He played some really great hockey with Washington.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out in Montreal, or Carolina for that matter. But I mean, Gusev outscored Panarin in the KHL, and is now an NHL player. And people are kind of, it's a lot of money to give a guy who's never played an NHL game.
I mean, he's still playing hockey with like fully grown adult
It's
men.
true, and he's not young. Like he's young, but he's like 26. Yeah. He's like the Panarin-esque rookie.
Oh, so is he gonna get the rookie?
He's not eligible. I think you have to be under 25. Which is good because that's so stupid. But anyway, he was over a point per game the last 2 seasons in the KHL. The Devils, man, like that team's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
And even if they're not good, and it takes them a while to like gel and become a team, because a lot of stuff changed.
You have the parts.
The parts are there. You have to figure it out.
Exactly.
Now, this is where it sort of goes with coaches who are in the middle of a rebuild, and then all of a sudden the switch flips, and it's all of a sudden there's these expectations, and I wonder how much of that's going to affect them. I wonder, like, because John Hines had the coach of the Devils has sort of a reputation for being a boring coach. Like, Devils games have been boring since, like, the dawn of time.
Right.
Like, it's not fun hockey to watch a lot of the time.
Well, now they got some pretty fun people.
Yeah, they have a lot. So I wonder if there's going to be pushback from the coach. It's going to be sort of a Babcock in Toronto sort of experience where he keeps pulling back the reins on these guys instead of letting Matthews just run with it, instead of letting Marner and Nylander just run around.
I don't know.
I wonder if Hines is going to have some growing pains with that, because this is by far, for John Hines, the most talented team he's ever coached in his life.
Yeah, definitely.
There's some serious expectations with that. How do they handle PK? Nashville kind of had a really nice role for him. And it worked. He played some of the best hockey of his career. Granted, he didn't stay healthy. How does all of this work? What do they do with Gusev? Like, I don't even know. I mean, that's what preseason and training camp is for, is you figure out what you have in every player.
Yeah. Figure it out, bud.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying, like, oh, why didn't my favorite team go get Gusev? Like, there was a lot of this with the Canadians. And the problem was Gusev needed to want to sign with your team.
Right.
Because if he didn't, I'm just going to go back to the KHL and make more money.
Right.
The price for acquiring him as far as draft picks was nothing.
No.
A second and a third?
Not bad at all.
That's how much Colin Miller cost the Buffalo Sabres to get. Who? Yeah, exactly. He's a defenseman. Like, I honestly, that when the price came out, I was like, I think the Knights played themselves into a corner. They ran out of leverage. They knew that they needed to get rid of guys because they're not cap compliant.
I think what we're in right now is a really low point for trades. It's a buyer's market. I don't think, I mean, not that there's been a lot of trades, but just with like the Shattenkirk situation and with some of the other deals we've seen, it's just you're not bringing in much for trades.
Yeah. Which leads me, I mean, it sort of works. It works both ways, because then the sellers don't want to sell because, well, I'm not going to get what I want to get for him.
And then hopefully the price would eventually go up.
Right.
Because it would lower if demand goes down.
The RFA market is also really weird right now.
Freaking Line.
This is a tweet from Dan Silver, at dsilver88 on Twitter. The following NHL RFAs are still unsigned: Patrick Laine, Zach Werenski, Kyle Connor, Matthew Tkachuk, Ivan Provorov, Mikko Rantanen, Kevin Fiala, Charlie McAvoy, Travis Konechny, Brock Besser, Braden Point, and I haven't even said Mitch Marner yet.
Oh my God.
That's so bananas.
Is this what every summer is going to be like now, where we're just waiting on these 22-year-olds to sign their contracts?
I don't know. Has it been like this in the past? I can't remember it ever being like this bad. Like, you've named, there's at least 5 big name players on that list. I didn't even think about McAvoy.
Patrick Laine. Patrick Laine is a bona fide goal scorer in the league. That's one. Zach Werenski is a Norris. He's going to be a Norris nominee at some point in his career. So that's 2. Tkachuk's fantastic. Tkachuk's already had 2 30-goal seasons.
He's already like a veteran.
Provorov is another guy who could win the Norris, and it wouldn't surprise me. Mikko Rantanen was on the best line in hockey last year.
Mm-hmm. Provorov, is he still with the Flyers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlie McAvoy could win a Norris. It wouldn't surprise me.
I don't really like
Brock
him,
Besser is a bona fide goal scorer, and I haven't said Mitch Marner.
Mitch Marner.
And Braden Point.
Braden Point's going to get so much money.
Wow. Oh, and speaking of Braden Point and the Lightning, they signed Vasilevsky.
To a crazy deal. Was it 9.5?
8 times 9.5. Still less than the other team in Florida paid for their goaltender.
Would you rather have... which...
Vasilevsky.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. He's younger. And I know people are like...
It's because he's not a free agent. That's why you get him a lot cheaper.
Yeah, but also that's the market value.
Yeah.
People are always really worried about giving goalies term and are saying goalies get... I'm okay with saying that goalies getting a long term is bad. Because do
you think they get too comfortable?
No, it's just they have... Their value fluctuates from year to year far too much. You know, like Carey Price can be on top of the world one season and the next season just be okay and everyone freaks out. You know, we saw it. It's happened. A lot of it's injury based. But I mean, you can say the same thing about like Braden Holtby. Braden Holtby is making a decent amount of money. He's due up for a contract, I think, at the end of this upcoming season. You know, I wonder what they do with him there. Do they give him an 8-year deal? Probably not. But I mean, people are like, oh, well, you can't give that to goalies. Someone will.
Yeah.
Like,
someone that needs a goalies.
If the Lightning didn't sign Vasilevsky to that contract, he's going to get max somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Whether that's 7 years because he's on the open market. Tell me Calgary wouldn't pay for that. Tell me Edmonton wouldn't pay for that.
I think you just pay a premium to have a goalie. Like, that's just the, like, to just have your guy is just, you just pay a premium for it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys overpaid for him. Yeah, we have him though.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about goaltending for the next 7 years.
Right.
So
like people, Carey Price is overpaid and we have him for too long. Let's pretend that's the case. We have him. He's ours. He can't play for anybody else. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. Because there's teams like the Philadelphias who have finally found a guy in Carter Hart who they think can carry the load, but what if he can't? Then they're back to square one and they need to find another goalie. Calgary and Edmonton just swapped bad goalies. Like, I know,
there's a lot of teams with, like, two... Like, you just run, like, a 1-2 kind of setup.
Yeah, Islanders last year.
Just not...
The Hurricanes last year. You know?
Yeah, it's nice having a...
You need an ace.
One. Yeah, exactly. Like a really good goalie. Hopefully the Rangers going forward will continue to have that after Lundqvist leaves, but it's you get spoiled.
Let's stay on the Lightning. Ryan Callahan goes to Ottawa. Mike Condon goes back.
Sure.
They swap 5th and 6th round picks, which in the grand scheme of things, if Ottawa finishes dead last, which is reasonable to expect, and Tampa wins the Cup, which is another reasonable thing to expect, those picks could be consecutive.
No, that's really
funny. The 5th round pick could be the last one in that round, and the 6th round pick could be the first one in that round. Mm-hmm. So there's almost no value being swapped there.
Right.
But Callahan, essentially, most of his contract is insured. So it's being paid out by insurance companies. So Mitch Melnick, he's a good radio guy for the Canadians. Eugene Melnick, I figured it out. I got there.
I didn't know who you're talking about.
He doesn't have to pay Callahan much of anything. But Callahan's full cap hit counts towards the salary cap, which the Senators need to get to the floor. Mm-hmm. I think they're at the floor now. I think they finally made it.
You should be allowed to just trade cap space.
Yeah. Cash considerations.
My article.
It'd be neat.
It would just help. Like, it would give a team... Like, it would give teams like the Rangers, like the Leafs and Canadians, like, you can sell your cap space then.
I wonder how much in the next CBA... I saw a headline of an article that I didn't care to click on. But essentially that LTIR might become something that needs to be discussed during the next CBA because it is being misused.
Yeah.
And we keep seeing the David Clarksons continue to get moved around. and the Nathan Hortons and the Mark Savards. I mean, who is he a Devil right now? I don't know where his contract is.
Wasn't he like just traded?
David Clarkson was.
No, Mark Savard got hired somewhere. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Does disputing somebody's reason for long-term IR violate any like rights to privacy that they have with their medical condition?
So I don't know how it works. I know that like Marian Hossa, even though he's still under contract with the Arizona Coyotes, he has to go to Arizona and get a physical done. I'm pretty sure every year he needs a physical done, and they go, "Yep, physically unable to perform."
Right.
You know, but teams like the Leafs are so good at Robida islanding people.
Yeah.
You know, the term Robida Island came from them.
Yeah.
They did it. Like, they're so good at circumventing the salary cap because the guy that helped write the CBA works for the Leafs, Brandon Pridham. He was
so smart.
Very important in the writing of the CBA, and now he works for the Maple Leafs as an advisor. That's why that David Clarkson shenanigannery happened recently. Because Shennanigannery, yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's in the CBA. Have you read it? Didn't think so.
Title.
Read it. Shenanigannery.
I want that to be my job. Just to know a lot about the CBA and just
read it.
And guys,
circumvent the cap.
So the guy, I forget his last name. His first name's Tom. He owned General Fanager, which was a cap-friendly, Cap Geek-esque website. That website no longer exists because he got hired by the Vegas Golden Knights before they started their expansion draft, and they took his website as proprietary information.
That's so funny.
God forbid that ever happens to Cap Geek, because Cap Friendly, because we'll never know what's going on in the league anymore.
I know. Cap Friendly's like the best site.
It's such an important resource to fans.
Definitely the number one hockey website. Like, better than Elite Prospects and HockeyDB.
Yeah, I think so. Because
it has everything.
You get everything. You click on a guy, there's his stats.
And you can the other, like, a month or two ago, I wanted to look at, like, who, in terms of how much players were being paid, like, who had the most points per amount of money, and, you know, and, like, I was like, oh, like, I'm gonna have to, like, download all players' salaries and, like, how much the points they had. I'm like, this is gonna be such a pain. And, like, Cap Friendly already had that.
Yeah, they had a tool for that.
Yeah, and you can like completely organize it by like points, assists, goals, and
that's
like
cool.
It was like you can go back a couple years. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome.
But I mean, Ottawa is kind of a team that's taking advantage of the CBA in another direction. They're trying to pay as little as real dollars for their team, and still be cap compliant.
Do you ever think about real dollars in terms of like what players are making? Because I don't. I mean, I guess that's the luxury of being a Rangers fan, is just it's only about cap space.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like, when you're in a big market.
The Canadians don't have an internal cap.
No, it doesn't matter how much you're paying players.
Most teams don't, for what it's worth.
Sure.
You know, their owners will open up their pockets for the team. The thing with the Ottawa Senators is right now, and even when they were being successful, it was always more about the money they were paying
than like the cap.
Like when they were in the freaking conference final and they were roping off seats so that they didn't have to hire guys to be security in those areas because no one was going to sit there anyway. In Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Final with the greatest defenseman on the planet playing the greatest hockey of his life.
Was it them that got rid of seats like a year or two ago?
Yeah, they put tarps over all of the seats. Right, yep. It was only temporary, but now it's permanent because no one wants to go and see that shithole of a team anymore.
So dumb.
Oh my god.
Poor fucking Brady Tkachuk. He's really good.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
His life sucks.
I wonder if there's players that are just like, dude, I need to get out of here.
Get me the fuck out of Ottawa. Like, we'll find out in 2 years when he's an unrestricted free agent.
He's just counting down.
He's going to be restricted, but I wouldn't surprise me if he tries to leverage his way out of there.
Yeah.
What else we got?
I don't know. Do you have anything written down?
Beth at Eliza_Beethan wants us to say our favorite, answer her question, which was, what's the best hockey name? Past, present, future? ?
I've been looking them up.
I already had one. It was the first one that came to my mind. I believe he was a defenseman that played for Washington and Arizona /Phoenix, by the name of Rob Klinkhammer.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one.
That's a good one.
Klinkhammer is good.
Klinkhammer.
The first one that came to my mind was Bookaboom.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Bookaboom.
Yeah.
It's just...
Plus, I just bought his jersey, so
it's got all the sounds in it.
And it has such a nice flow to it. Bookaboom. Like, it
a
carries
shame.
itself.
It's a shame he didn't play in today's NHL because that would be like a very marketable thing.
Oh, so, yeah.
You know?
I want a hockey card where it's him, like, laying a check, and it's, like, the, like, comic book Boom.
Boom.
And it's like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a word for what those things are.
Automatopoeias.
Maybe.
No, I don't know. Something like that.
Boom,
smash.
Yeah.
I have a few. The first one that came to my mind was Jordan Tutu.
Jordan Tutu's good.
Yeah.
And the fact that his birthday is February 2nd.
Yeah.
And he wore the number 22. So awesome.
I also like Clutterbuck.
Clutterbuck's good.
Bufflin is just just the way it's spelled versus the way it's said.
Same thing with Scheifele.
There is a Bruins player of the past named Bill Quackenbush.
Quackenbush, yeah.
Wow.
I think there's also a pitcher in Major League Baseball. His last name is Quackenbush.
Yeah.
That's not important right now.
Miroslav Satan.
Yeah, he was cool.
Who I share a birthday with.
Never played for the Devils.
Shame.
It is a shame.
Yeah.
That's like King playing for the Kings.
And then the Canadians and then the KHL.
What else?
Yikes.
Dave Snuggerud.
Oh, wait, I just remembered an even better one. Goaltender for the expansion Ottawa Senators, Ron Tugnut.
Yeah, that was on the list.
That's a great one.
That was on the list.
That's in the same sort of area as famous NASCAR racer Dick Trickle. That's his name. It's Dick Trickle.
Dick!
I do have to issue an apology. Did we do this at the beginning?
Are you problematic?
No, we
What
didn't.
happened?
So,
we didn't talk about this.
Last episode, I answered a question from a fan. And I butchered the hell out of his name, and he responded.
How did you say it? Do you remember?
I said Trej.
Or Trey.
Because, first of all, he was kind enough to tell me how to say it. It's Treg. So, Treg, I apologize.
That's a great hockey name.
Treg for sure.
Treg, do you play hockey?
Greg McKegg is up there, by the way.
Greg McKegg is also up there. Yeah, I'm sorry for, as a kid who went through high school being called Ian Boysfart, I need to do a better job of
Boys
that.
do fart, though.
They do. My health teacher ruined my entire life when I was a freshman in high school. So, Treg, thanks for listening. Thanks for submitting the questions. Thanks for being such a good sport. I'm really sorry.
Thanks for being you,
Treg.
Treg.
Thanks for being Treg. Yeah, we're sorry.
We're sorry.
I wanted to talk about some competitive eating.
Were there other questions?
No, that was the only one.
Do you want to?
Oh, no, I saw the replies, and it was Zach being sassy and Pat being sassy, so.
You want to spend 2 seconds saying anything about Chris Kunitz retiring?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you might have something to say more than me.
He'll probably be the most successful player to not be in the Hall of Fame.
He'll be up there.
Do you think he'll ever...
4 rings and a gold medal, and he's not going in.
He won't?
No.
You don't think?
No chance.
He'll be an asterisk under Sidney Crosby's inductee.
He'll be a guy that years from now, Homer journalists will be writing about how he should be in the Hall of Fame. He was a glue guy who, look at the cups. He got 4 cups.
Yeah, he's
1 with Anaheim, 3 with Pittsburgh.
He's going to be a great article to write in like 5 years.
For sure.
When people forget about him and forget about how he was like carried. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was a great player. I thought it was an absolute shame that he made the Olympic team instead of Martin St. Louis, and then St. Louis made the team because Stamkos couldn't play. If I remember that correctly.
Yeah, it was something like
that. And they brought Kunitz along because they were like, oh, he can play on a line with Crosby. I'm like, what? He's the greatest player on the planet. Anybody can do that.
Right.
What?
Figure it out.
Can you refresh my memory? Maybe you know the Lightning. Either coach or general manager was running the team.
Steven Stamkos. Yep. Not Steven Stamkos. Steve Yzerman. Steve.
Because I remember St. Louis talking about that, and I think if I remember correctly, he was kind of like almost hurt, like, bruh, like you didn't pick me.
Bruh.
But it was either that or he was like understanding because he's like, you can't pick too many of your own players. I get it.
But you picked an injured one instead of the good one.
Yeah.
And I think the year before that, not only Art Ross, he won the Hart Trophy. He was the league MVP, and he was in his mid-30s. Like,
yeah,
St. Louis is great.
And then he went to the Rangers, and he was just like their emotional leader.
Oh my god,
Hall of Famer,
Martin St. Louis. Yeah, probably. Okay. He was hella good, undrafted.
Undrafted.
Yeah.
Because he's short.
Yeah, he's a small dude. He was a Calgary Flame, and then they let him go.
I think his legs were wider than how tall he was.
He was thick.
He had huge legs.
I was at work the other day, and we ended up talking about competitive eating somehow.
Oh.
The other day.
Oh.
Molly Schuler owns the world record for the most chicken wings eaten in a half hour. Kristen, you already know the answer to this.
I already know the answer, so I have to
Trevor,
abstain.
how many chicken wings... Let's start it this way. How many chicken wings do you think you could eat in 30 minutes?
How like thoroughly do I need to clean them?
It's so funny.
It's the first question
It's the first question everybody has asked when I've asked them this question. I've asked like countless people at work.
Like,
I asked Kristen. It was the first thing that they responded with.
Do I have to go in between the bones?
I think on a flat, you have to clean out the middle.
Okay.
Right? That's a fair...
I have no technique.
Yeah, you don't have to chew like the cartilage off the ends. Yeah. Like, let's
I would be
civilized.
I think I would be...
I know, but we're about speed here.
Yeah.
I would be restricted by time. Whereas I think if someone who has their shit together would be more restricted by
the meat,
by like how full they get.
Ah.
And because of that, I'm gonna go with like maybe 40s.
You could eat 40?
Maybe like one a minute.
I could probably eat like 30 or so if I was really pushing it.
I'm thinking like one a minute, and maybe around 30. 40 might be high.
What do you think
maybe 30.
What do you think the world record is?
You got to be like, dude, you could probably eat a wing in like 10 seconds if you really knew what you were doing. So that's like 10. Okay, so that's like I'm going 2 wings a minute at least. I'm gonna go like 80. No, I'm gonna go like 97.
You'd be wrong. 501.
501.
She ate a wing. By that math, every 4 seconds.
She was eating multiple wings.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like at the hot dog eating contest, they eat by twos.
You know what I would do in that situation? I would take all of the drumsticks and eat like 2 drumsticks at a time.
Wow.
And then move to the flats and do 2 at a time. That's how I would do it.
Eating competitions are dangerous. That's probably like the most dangerous one.
That's what would hang me up the most.
You throw up everything afterwards.
I think that's a DQ. I think that's a disqualification.
Really?
Did not finish. DNF.
How much? Yeah,
exactly. How long? Until you're allowed to throw.
Leave.
Until they finish counting. Until the official count is done, you can't throw up.
You probably
they can't count how many wings you threw up.
No, I know, but they always do. They rewatch everything and they make sure they got them all.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of research on this.
What I would do if I was an official of this event, I would hand the person like plates of like 10 at a time, say, and then you just count the plates.
Sure.
Yeah, but that slows.
And then whatever's left on the plate.
The competitive eater down.
Maybe, but that's part of the competition.
Yeah.
That's just you have a queue of plates.
Yeah.
And obviously you would have you could easily plate them in time. Like you could throw 10 wings on a plate or whatever it may be. You have plates available.
The thing that would slow me down, particularly with chicken wings, is that I would be so afraid of choking.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I'm trying to visualize.
That's my biggest fear here. Like, and I was surprised that the first question is, well, how much do I have to clean them? I'm surprised the first question was, what sauce is on these wings?
Yeah, it can't be that hot.
Yeah.
You probably want to go.
No, you have to put sauce on them.
No, you don't want them. That's too dry. You gotta get some like teriyaki, something
lubricant.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think she dunked them?
No, I watched her do it.
You
First
did?
of all, she's like 120 pounds. And she ate 501 wings.
They're always so skinny.
Well, it's like genetics. It's not anything.
So she set a record for something. I forget what the record was.
Is she the one that
she owns a lot of records.
That makes the costumes that look like the food she's eating?
No. She set some record for competitive eating, and then the next day went and set the record for eating pancakes. Forget what the first one was. But anyway,
I couldn't even eat the 2 pancakes we would get for breakfast at college.
Yeah.
I never finished
too much. So I want to go through some other ones. This is Major League Eating. Now, they don't recognize her 501 as a record.
Why?
Because it was a different, it was at Philadelphia Wing Bowl.
Oh, it wasn't like an official sponsored event.
Which has since been ended. They don't do it anymore because of the absolute beatdown she put on those wings.
They ran out of wings.
For years.
So, I'm going to go through some weird ones. Like there's burritos and pizza and things like that.
Sure.
But
how many fucking burritos could you put away?
By the way, you know who has the record on here for burritos? 15 Burritoville burritos in 8 minutes. Eric Badlands Booker of Badlands Chugs fame on YouTube.
So
if you're watching this on YouTube, once this is over, go and look up Badlands Chugs if you want some fun chugging videos.
Burritos. Are we talking like Taco
it's not
Bell
important.
filled burritos?
It's not important.
It is important.
It's not because there's different categories for burritos on here.
Like fucking infants.
It doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go and read.
I want a burrito now.
The first one on here is cabbage.
That's dumb.
In 9 minutes, Charles Hardy.
Can you have us guess?
Yeah. This is registered in pounds. How many pounds of cabbage did he eat in 9 minutes?
Cabbage has a lot of moisture. It's not gonna. You don't have to do a lot of chewing. I feel like for cabbage. Is it shredded or how is it served?
I think it's in heads. Like you're just pounding back heads of cabbage.
Raw heads.
Let's try not to spend so much time on all of these.
Okay,
because there's a lot of them. Okay,
so I'm going like 9 minutes. I'm going like 4 pounds.
You're going 30? Did you say?
30 pounds.
Well, it was 6 pounds 9 ounces.
Okay, I said 4. Price is right. I win.
I'm thrown off by the 500 wings. I don't know what numbers are anymore.
This is my favorite one, by the way.
Okay.
In 5 minutes, Don Lerman set the record for
5 minutes. That's
most butter eaten. How many sticks of butter, salted, did Don Lerman eat?
In 5 minutes, dude. You're just like tossing those back.
This one was surprising to me.
Oh, okay. So it's either I think it's low then. Dude, that's so he's gonna have a heart attack. Okay, we gotta go quick.
3, 2, 1.
42.
Really? I'm going like
he's just like.
How many sticks of butter 42 is?
He ate a reverse Pez dispenser.
That's like a person. That's like a person worth of butter.
That was surprising. My first answer was like, gotta be 12. And then you're like, oh, that surprised me. Fine, we'll kick it up.
There's surprising, and then there's ridiculous.
Then there's
Trevor, what did you say?
I'm going like 6.
It's 7. He ate 7 quarter-pound sticks of butter. 42. Holy shit. In 6 minutes, this one gives a date. On February 17th, 2018, Carmen Cincati set the record for eating the most chili. 6 minutes. This is registered in gallons. How many gallons of chili did he eat?
By the way,
or she. Carmen could go both ways.
A stick of butter is like a quarter of a pound.
That's
so that's like 10 pounds of butter.
Yeah, 7 quarter-pound sticks.
Yeah. So that's like her guess was like 10 and a half pounds.
No, that's.
She said 42.
Yeah, I did.
Trevor, it's 7 quarter-pound sticks is almost 2 pounds of butter.
No, I know, but her guess was 42, so that's 10 and a half pounds.
Oh, fuck, that'd be a lot of butter.
That's a lot of butter. Gallons in 6 minutes. You're drinking at that point.
2.5 gallons.
Yeah, I'm going like 4.
Kristen, 2.438 gallons of chili. You were like almost right on the nose.
Good job.
Let's see. This one's funny. Back to my boy Eric Badlands Booker. Follow Badlands Chugs on YouTube.
I'm gonna have to tag
in 1 minute and 58 seconds, how many pounds of corned beef hash did Eric Badlands Booker consume? 1 minute, 58 seconds. So essentially 2 minutes.
In what unit?
Pounds.
2 pounds. Nah, 1.7. Because I'm going to go 2 pounds. I'm sticking to 2 pounds. The reason I'm sticking to 2 pounds.
7.
4 pounds.
Okay.
4 pounds of corned beef hash.
I knew the amount had to be a flat number because the time was so arbitrary. Right?
Let's see.
You're not going to...
Oh my God.
You either do 2 minutes or you do it by...
The most well-known professional eater of all time, Joey Chestnut, has so many records on this list.
Right.
This is Major League Eating, by the way. You get signed to this like you would to like WWE.
Yeah, people get sponsors and shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Cool.
Joey Chestnut in 2013 set the record for eating the most hard-boiled eggs in 8 minutes. How many did he eat?
Wait, what was it? 8 minutes?
8 minutes. Hard-boiled eggs.
Dude, they're dry on the inside, though.
So dry.
I wonder, do you swallow the thing whole?
I feel like you...
No.
No way. There's no room.
I feel like I'm choking.
Yeah.
Just thinking of that.
He doesn't do that with the hot dogs. He chews them.
8 minutes.
A dozen.
That's a good guess.
A dozen.
I think it's a little bit more. I think I'm gonna go.
8 minutes. You think he could only eat a dozen hard-boiled eggs?
Okay, fine.
I'm gonna go like 20.
35.
141.
141.
What?
141.
In 8 minutes?
I don't know what numbers are anymore.
Hold on.
I don't know what my expectations should be. He has to be just fucking swallowing them.
You said 101?
141.
141 divided by... Oh, shoot. I can't do math. That's like... I don't know. That's a lot.
It was an egg every 3 seconds?
I think so.
Yeah. 3.5 seconds is an egg.
An egg?
Yeah.
3.5 seconds
crazy.
is an egg.
Joey Chestnut also has the record for the most glazed donuts eaten.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
in 8 minutes.
I would throw up.
I would like this. Okay. I wonder when the time runs out, if you have it in your mouth, does that count? Because you could pack glazed donuts in your mouth pretty well. Like when it gets to the end, don't even swallow.
Yeah.
How much?
Just fill your cheeks.
8 minutes.
Glazed donuts.
I think this is going to be a reoccurring bit because this list goes on for weeks.
60.
Wow. 5 a minute. That's not terrible. Okay.
Rip them up. You dunk them. He had to have dunked them.
Did Dunkin' Donuts sponsor this event? Can we confirm?
Salvation Army did.
Oh.
They have the sponsor on here. How many donuts, Fair?
I'll go 75.
55.
Oh.
Good job, Kristen.
And I'll finish with another one set by Eric Badlands Booker. In 5 minutes and 25 seconds, he set the record for the most matzo balls eaten. How many, and this is the unit they use on the site, I'm not making this up. How many baseball-sized matzo balls did he consume in 5 minutes and 25 seconds? Baseball-sized.
Can you just confirm to the people out there that don't know what matzo balls are, what matzo balls are?
So matzo is like...
I know, but just there might be other people out there that don't know.
It's kind of like a big ball of dough.
Yeah. It's served
that you usually have
soup.
with soup.
Okay.
But he's eating just the ball.
It's a
It's the size of a baseball.
Food.
Yeah. In how many minutes?
5 minutes and 25 seconds. How many
baseball-sized
matzo balls did he consume?
There's another thing where, because if you dunk that, it pretty much dissolves. Like, it melts. You could just fucking house those.
I'll go a baker's dozen. We'll go 13.
In how many minutes again?
5 minutes and 25 seconds.
I don't think you're allowed to dunk in this event.
No. Well, most of the time they give you water to dunk in, like for the hot dog eating contest.
Well, then I'm going to go 2
59.
baker's dozens. We'll go 26.
59.
It was 21. Made it look bad.
Fuck me.
Okay, I lied. This is the last one.
Oh, okay. Do we got pickles?
Oleg Zhornitsky set the record for most mayonnaise eaten in 8 minutes.
No,
it's most mayonnaise drank in 8 minutes. Can you drink
It's not Major League Drinking, Trevor.
Oh, okay. Gallons?
So they do this in units of 32-ounce bowls.
Yeah. That makes it worse.
So 32 ounces is 2 pounds.
Do you get to bring your own spoon?
Sun?
I don't think you use a spoon. I think that's just going to get in your way.
You just...
I want to bring my own spoon.
You're just... No, I don't even think you're doing that. I think you're just clawing at it.
Yeah.
Doing shovel method for sure.
Okay.
Shovel that mayo.
Give me an idea how much 32 ounces is.
It's 2 pounds.
2 pounds? In how many minutes?
16 ounces in a pound. 8 minutes.
8 minutes. How many pounds? I'm going to go like...
9.
Yeah, I was going to say like 7 or 8. We'll go 8 and we'll say 4 bowls.
4 bowls.
Wow.
Yeah. He ate 8 pounds of mayo in 8 minutes. That's a pound a minute.
How many weeks, years do you think it would take for you to consume on average? Like, you're not trying. Like, how much... How long would you normally consume?
2 tablespoons of mayo
on a sandwich or something?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know if I've consumed that much mayo in my life.
Yeah, there's no way.
He might have ate more mayo in that 5-6 minutes than I did.
The average human being eats ever.
Wow, that's impressive. He should have done the mayo challenge and then gone to the egg event and just made egg salad.
All right, I think that's a good place to leave that. That was fun. We'll do that
again. That was really
again.
interesting. I can't believe they had every type of food, specifically glazed donuts.
It did.
Yeah.
So Kristen and I will be away next week. So maybe we'll have another episode next weekend. I'm glad we got to do one this weekend. We'll be on vacation. You'll see some pictures on the Twitters.
Until like Friday.
But we might do an episode next Saturday. Who knows? Yeah. thanks for listening. I don't have anything new on RabidHabs. If you want to go read that Markov article that doesn't matter anymore, you can go read that. Start your own podcast on Anchor.
Hell yeah.
RabidHabs.
At RabidHabs. At Nosebleeds Cast for the podcast. At Boisvert Ian for bad memes.
At letter_bombs for existential anxiety tweets.
Yeah.
At Gold's Personal for tweets.
Wow, you killed
Probably
that.
the most normal tweets of the bunch are from
yeah.
there.
I do the most normal, you think?
Yeah,
Probably.
definitely.
Wow.
Definitely.
Sometimes I tweet pictures of animals.
Put that in your bio, Trevor. The most normal tweets on our podcast.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the most normal person though.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
it's the persona
social,
you've wanted.
You're like, I like movies. I like animals. That's me. I'm Trevor. I'm like, I'm fucking dying.
All right, we'll see you guys.
All right.
Till next time.
Okay, bye everybody.
Nosebleeds Podcast.